Good morning, councillors, and welcome to the City Planning, Economic Development Environment Committee meeting of the 30th of September, and I'd like to declare this meeting open at 9 o'clock. I'd like to advise meeting attendees that this meeting is being audio recorded, and today is my son's 12th birthday. Let me begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we meet and their elders past, present and emerging. I have one leave of absence from Councillor Russell. I'd like to move that she be granted that leave. Can I have someone second that motion? Thank you, Councillor Karansky. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That is carried unanimously. I'm going to move into item 7.1 first in your agenda, which is the Local Government Association of Queensland Advisory Group nominations. And look, Carmen and Daryl are up there already. I'll hand over to you, Carmen.
Thank you. I'll take the report as...
Sorry, I have to do conflicts of interest. Does anyone have any conflicts of interest on this report? No? Thank you very much. Now you can take it away, Carmen.
Thank you. I'll take the report as read and just highlight that these are refreshed groups from LGAQ. An appointment will be ultimately decided by them, depending on the other nominations they receive from local governments across Queensland. I also have Daryl Ross with me, who sat on one of these groups before and can say a few words about his involvement in the past.
Yeah, thanks, Carmen. I guess the key function of these groups is the subject matter experts from which support the LGAQ in developing policy positions for particular subject areas. The one that I've been involved in and that Council's been represented in terms of the water and wastewater management. It's a good opportunity to get a statewide perspective on issues. It also supports LGAQ in terms of getting a balance and ensuring that they've got the right perspectives in terms of their policy positions. Quite a good forum in terms of access. Generally, it's good access to state and federal representatives as well. Generally, the committees meet 2 to 3 times a year to work on key policy. So it's we've been involved in perspective as Logan is one of the largest councils with water and wastewater services directly. So it's good for them to have a balance of the smaller and larger councils in the representation. So happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much, Daryl. I have 2 questions at the moment. Councillor Bradley and Councillor Karansky.
Thank you, Chair. On page 4 of the report, it refers to the Climate Risk Management and Resilience Advisory Group. I'm happy to put my hand up to go on that. I didn't realise there was no one that put a name there.
Thank you, Councillor Bradley. Can you make that amendment, please, Carmen?
Yes, we can.
Wonderful. Councillor Karansky.
I think that Councillor Bradley might have resolved that issue. I was just going to say that I'd encourage one of the deputy chairs, if they haven't already, to put their hand up. But Councillor Bradley, I know this is an area of interest to you, and I'm really pleased to support you being on the committee. So, issue resolved.
Thank you. Are there any further questions? Can I have someone move the motion on the screen that will be there in a moment, I'm sure? Thank you, Councillor Bradley, seconded by Councillor Heremiah. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That is carried unanimously. Thank you very much. That's the only report that I have for the Innovation City Transformation Directorate. Carmen, do you have any GB for us?
Sorry, Mr Chair, the motion on the board is not the motion that you were referring to.
We still have training wheels on with the meeting services team. They're catching up because I go too fast. There is the motion. Councillor Lane, satisfied? Excellent. Do councillors have any general business for Carmen or for the Director, Dr. Scott Burke? There being none, thank you very much. You can go back to work. Next, I will move into item 4.1, which is a confidential report in regards to the Logan Lee train station relocation. And I'll ask for the acting Strategy and Sustainability Director, Dave Radich, to come forward, along with the acting Economic Development and Strategy Manager, Tate Ryan, to come up. Councillors, before we move into discussion, does anyone have any conflicts of interest they'd like to declare on this item? There being none, can I please have someone move that we go into confidential under section 2751H of the Local Government Regulations 2012? The reason that this report is considered confidential is because the report contains documentation and information that is not in the public domain and is commercially sensitive in nature. Councillor Bradley has moved. Councillor Hall has seconded. All those in favour of going into confidential, please raise your hand. That is carried unanimously. We will now, please be advised that the meeting is now in confidential session and therefore the recording of this meeting will be suspended until it reopens. And I'll ask members of the gallery to please leave the room. Alrighty, councillors, we are back in open session. Have you got the motion for item 4.1 for councillors to vote on, Trish? Perfect. Councillors, you have the motion in front of you on the screen. Can I please have someone move that motion? Thank you, Councillor Hall. Someone to second? Thank you, Councillor Murphy. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That is carried not unanimously. Councillor Wilcox, how would you like to vote?
I will abstain.
No problems. Thank you very much for clarifying that. We'll now move on to item 4.2, which is also a confidential report on the Springwood Town Square. Before I ask that we move into confidential, does anyone have any conflicts of interest they'd like to declare on this report? There being none, I'd now ask that someone move us into confidential by closing the public meeting in accordance with section 2751C of the Local Government Regulations 2012. This report is considered confidential because the report contains confidential information that relates to Council's budget. Would someone like to move us into confidential, please? Thank you, Councillor Murphy, seconded by Councillor Stemp. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That is carried unanimously. As the motion is carried, the meeting is now closed to the public. Please be advised the meeting is now in confidential session. The recording of this meeting will be suspended until it reopens, and apologies to the gallery, I have to ask you to leave again. Councillors, we've returned to open session and the motion will be on the screen shortly. There we go. You have a motion before you. Can I please have someone move this motion? Thank you, Councillor Bradley, seconded by Councillor Murphy. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That is carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Councillors, I will now move on to item 4.3, which is the reappointment of directors to the Invest Logan board. Does anyone have any conflicts of interest they'd like to declare before we move into the discussion on this matter? There being none, I now refer to the Acting Economic Development Strategy Manager. Oh no, we're going to the Director, the Acting Strategy and Sustainability Director, Mr. David Radich. You may proceed, speak to your report.
Through the Chair, Invest Logan has written to you as the sole shareholder of Invest Logan, seeking to ratify the appointment of 2 of their directors for a period of 3 years. The reappointment is for Stephen Greenwood and Annabelle Pegram, 2 current directors on the Invest Logan board. The Constitution, which is the agreement between Invest Logan and the sole shareholder being Council, is that Council ratifies the appointment of these directors. It's somewhat a procedural matter, which requires a Council resolution. So happy to answer any questions on the report.
Councillor Bradley has a question.
Yeah, thank you. I am concerned about stating for a period of 3 years because we're a new council. We haven't really discussed amongst ourselves 100% if we want to see Invest Logan going forward into the future. I'm going to flag I will not be supportive of this. I just think that just puts us into a bind where we're committed for 3 years and we haven't really discussed that. We haven't had that conversation amongst ourselves.
Did have a conversation, but that's okay. At a briefing. But anyway, we haven't had an official decision-making process.
No, nothing official.
But you can't wrap Invest Logan up in 3 years due to the work that's happening on the York at the moment. It'll take at least 3 years to finalise. But that's okay. You're well within your rights to saying that. That's fine.
In my opinion, it puts us in it commits us for the next 3 years.
Any comment?
So through the Chair, it is probably, so It is Invest Logan's decision as a board to appoint them for 3 years. I do understand the concerns that have been raised, and I will speak with the Invest Logan CEO or acting CEO to see what the rationale behind the 3-year terms are, because I believe that they did change that in their constitution from being 2 years to 3 years.
Councillor Lane.
Thank you very much, Mr Chair. Through you. So one of the people asking to be returned as a director, we haven't met. Is there a reason we haven't met that person?
Through the Chair, so both of these reappointment of directors have been directors for some time since the establishment of Invest Logan. I'm happy to facilitate an introduction with the whole of council.
We've had a meeting with Invest Logan. It's just that one of those members didn't appear, and I'm curious as to why.
So one of the members, Annabelle Pegram, is based in Canberra, so potentially the travel ban may have impacted the ability to meet with her in a physical sense.
So we're returning directors from other locales around the country because we don't have any good ones here, or because that's obviously their choice as a board who they appoint?
Through the Chair, it is their choice as a board who they appoint.
Councillor Heremiah.
Through the Chair, are you familiar with the expected remuneration of these non-executive directors?
Through the Chair, I am aware of their remuneration, yes.
Is that public information?
I don't know.
Through the Chair, I would not feel comfortable talking about the remuneration of council staff, effectively, or Invest Logan staff in a public setting.
From memory, I think that it was declared in a council report, not for the staff, because that's a private matter, but for the directors of the board, because they have a retainer that they get paid that isn't particularly high. But I'm happy to take that one notice and bring it back to the next committee meeting, if you like, Councillor Heremiah, so it could be on the record.
That'd be great.
No problems. Councillor Kransky, then Mr Mayor.
Just a couple of things. So just to be clear, both of these members have in fact been members of Invest Logan board in the past.
Through the Chair, since the establishment of Invest Logan, both of these members have been directors.
And I appreciate Councillor Lane's point that not all councillors have had the opportunity to meet one of the directors as Pegram. I have met her in the past and found her to present very well. And my other question I have is that we still haven't appointed a replacement for, what's the correct title? Is it CEO? As CEO? Do we have any idea of any time frame with regard to the reappointment of a CEO?
Through the Chair, I'm not aware of the time frame. I think that there's a number of questions that have been raised in committee, which I'll go back to Invest Logan with and try to get some answers.
Thanks, Dave.
Mr Mayor.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Chair. I just want to take this opportunity to say that that these people on the board are highly qualified professional people. They've been very well critiqued, and I'd just like to also state that the model that is in place here is not anywhere near the Ipswich model. We are not interfering with their process or progress, and I think that if utilised, they will be very beneficial to the city. I have certainly put some challenges to them, and I want to see the quality rise to the top. And I think two people here, if you look at their qualifications, they have been very successful in their own right. And I personally believe we need these people on board. And I acknowledge Councillor Bradley's concern about 3-year term, but given that this is a standard term, I don't see any concern And I haven't really seen any problems with Invest Logan. I sort of had some concerns from the outside, but as I got to be the mayor, I've certainly seen some positive steps, particularly since I've been elected as mayor, and I know they're working quite progressively towards some projects, and I look forward to them.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And for the benefit of councillors who weren't here last term when we formed Invest Logan, the process of appointing the board members was extraordinarily rigorous. One of the best assessments I've seen for both excluding people whose skills were inadequate or whose connections to specific industries were inappropriate, while still trying to maintain the amount of local content and relevance to the city that each director had. So even though Annabelle is based in Canberra, she has done business in and had lots of relationships with people in Logan and businesses in Logan for a long time. I agree with the Mayor that the work that Invest Logan has done and is continuing to do is important work, and while Councillor Bradley is right, we haven't had a formal motion yet to confirm our plans going forward in the medium to long term. In the short term, they're currently building the York project in Beenleigh, which is a major project, and they're doing some work in Berrinborough and Marsden as well. All those projects will take at least 2 years to finalise, if not 3. So the term isn't extraordinary, but Council does have the ability, if it chooses, to decide to change these positions, because the one authority we do have is to remove the board. There is nothing else we do to interfere with the appointment of board members. This is merely, as Dave said, a procedural motion to endorse their decision, because we are very hands-off, which is different to the Ipswich model, where they were essentially running the organisation and interfering with its operational decision-making processes and where its investments were going. Invest Logan has been audited by the Queensland Auditor's Office. It has been held up as best practice model for how to have a beneficiary enterprise that is connected to council and can do work in areas of the economy that council does not have the capacity to move quickly and be agile and pivot as needed based on market needs and opportunities. And for that reason, it's a valuable asset as long as it's managed appropriately and transparently, which is why it's come to committee. Are there any further questions?
Yeah.
Councillor Bradley.
Yeah, is there any opportunity to change it to 2 years? I would be happier with 2 years, seeing as we have not actually had that discussion.
No, you can't
such.
interfere with the operation of the organisation.
I beg your pardon?
You can't interfere with how they run the business. The
But
only
we're elected to make decisions of council. Why can't we put it as 2 years?
Because they have chosen 3 years, it's in their constitution, and we can't meddle in the operation of an
I
enterprise.
thought
that is
David
not
said
controlled
that
by
he
us.
was going to go back and ask. They would normally
They could choose to change it.
No, can I just ask the acting director, please? You did say something about they normally were 2 years. Is that correct?
So through the chair, they did change the constitution a little while ago, maybe over a year ago, to allow for longer terms. Councillor Raven is correct. We can't change the recommendation as it stands, because these are the board's recommendations, which council as the sole shareholder is ratifying. So in some ways it is quite procedural.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it becomes a slippery slope. You start dictating how the business controls itself, because that hands-off approach no longer applies if you start interfering with them. But they could choose to do it themselves if
I'm
we...
not choosing to interfere, just for the record, please.
Councillor Hall.
Yeah, through the chair. If we choose not to endorse this recommendation, what would be the impact of that?
Through the chair, I believe that the decision of the board would still be upheld.
Interesting.
Any further questions? Councillor Bannon.
Through the chair, I just believe that we want this company to run as a private company, that they're doing what they're meant to do by picking their board and their terms. I think that you've got to let them do their job. I think that we should stay out of it and we should trust their judgment on it. As the Mayor said, they went through a pretty rigorous appointment. They wouldn't have put the wrong people in. They know how much scrutiny they're under and that we're all under. So yeah, I'm in full support of it. And I'm happy to move when it's ready.
Thank you, Councillor Bennett. Are there any further questions? Councillor Bennett has moved the motion. Would someone like to second the motion? Thank you, Councillor Murphy. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That is carried with the exception of Councillor Bradley, who is
Abstaining.
and Councillor Hall, who is...
I'm also abstaining.
Thank you. Councillors, we'll now move on to item... that is the last of the reports for the Acting Economic Development and Strategy Manager. Tate, do you have any GB for us?
No.
Do we have any GB for Tate? No? Thank you very much, Tate. You excused, and I'll call the Health, Environment and Waste Manager, Michael Asnikar, to come up to the table as we move on to item 5.5, which is a confidential report regarding the Waste Alliance expression of interest for resource recovery and waste disposal services. Before I move into confidential, do any councillors have any conflicts of interest they'd like to declare? There being none, I'll now ask that we are moved into confidential under section 2751E of the Local Government Regulations 2012. The reason being that the confidential attachment includes information relating to contracts that may be made by council as well as commercial in confidence information. Would someone please like to move me into confidential? Thank you, Councillor Bradley. Do I have someone to second that motion? Thank you, Councillor Fraser. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That is carried with the exception unanimously. Thank you very much, councillors. As the meeting is now, that is carried. As the meeting is now in closed session, the recording will be suspended until it reopens, and I ask that the gallery please leave the room. Thank you, councillors. The gallery has now returned and you have a motion on the screen. Councillor Kransky would like to move that motion, and it looks to me as though Councillor Murphy will be seconding the motion. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That is carried unanimously, noting that Mr Mayor is not in the room at this time. And Councillor Wilcox, would you like to vote, or are you happy to be absent? Councillor Wilcox has voted from the coffee table and indicated her support. That is the end of the Health, Environment and Waste Manager's reports. Michael, do you have any general business for us?
Just, Mr Chair, I just want to thank councillors for promoting the green waste bin option that's being introduced next year. It's certainly generated quite a bit of interest, and as at 8 a.m. this morning, we had over 1,500 registrations of interest. You know, we've obviously issued a lot of promo material to everyone, so just want to appreciate.
Councillor Wilcox, would you like to comment on that?
I would. Could we please get weekly updates on how many people are registering for this? Because we do all secretly want to know, and we would love to know division by division, but if you could give us a weekly update, that would be great.
Can do.
Thank you.
I wish councillors were this engaged in planning scheme amendments. Councillor Lane.
That was exactly my thing, which was, can we have it by postcode, the number of applications?
Oh, jeez.
Postcode.
Would you like it by street as well, Councillor Lane? Councillor Bradley.
Yeah, I want to thank you sincerely, Michael, your team, and all those who have been involved in the marketing section of council, because yes, this has been a long time in the making. The green bins, I've been advocating, I think Councillor Raven has said every budget that he's been involved in, I have been advocating for this for a long time, so this is a huge tick for our community. The area I represent have been so embracing of my Facebook's still going off with comments of, you know, people very supportive of the green waste bin. I haven't had one person say it should be free. I've always stated it's optional green bin, so people know that it is, you pay for it, user pay. So thank you.
Councillor Murphy.
Thank you through the chair, Michael. Thank you. Congratulations to your team. It is well supported out there. The community are engaging with us with regards to the feedback. For the residents that are listening, it is an optional facility available through council in 3 different sizes, and yes, the tenants can get one too. So thank you. I'm glad to see that it's working well.
Thank you very much, councillors. Are there any further comments to that or any general business for Michael? Noting that I've got the Acting Development Assessment Manager in the room as well. Is there any general business for Justin? Or for the Acting Strategy and Sustainability Director? No? Then do you have any general business for us, Dave? Thank you very much. And I declare the meeting closed at 9:55 a.m. The City Lifestyle meeting will commence in 10 minutes at 10:05.